Hi and welcome to Screencast number 7 about using GOODF. And the topic could be a little bit more on pipe reading options or know thy samples. So, to begin with, when I created GOODF, my thoughts were to create a tool that could help sample set producers and ease the workload for them. It is not really a software designed for the normal user of GroundOrg. They should rather use what is already created in sample sets. But it is not impossible that one could want to, for instance, create a smaller version of a sample set that is too large to load as it is. And yes, there are options in GroundOrg to reduce the RAM requirements, but you could also want to just make a smaller version or compare features in a sample set in some way. So we'll examine a little bit samples from Bückeburg organ coming from Sonus Paradisi, and we could have a look. Here we see what compass and what keyboards it should have, but we could also just go into the sample set and examine what we are interested in. And the layout of a sample set is completely up to the one who created it. So there is no real standard of where you might find elements of the sample set. So, but here I know that the pipes are in the pipes folder, and we see that we have multiple folders for each division. So here we have the pedal, and in the pedal we have each stop, and in each stop we have multiple versions or mic placements for them. And also we can see that we have separate tremulant sample folders for the manuals. If we look inside one of these normal samples, we find that there is also a tremulant sample folder, but it is not really samples in this folder. So we cannot really load the pipes in that way. We must specify the tremulant samples separately. Also, you can see here that there are separate release folders, and I know that the Sonus Paradisi samples doesn't have any release in the main attack sustain samples. All the releases are separate. So you shouldn't really try to load any release from the attack samples. So we can have a look in Loop Auditioner. We open up one of the folders, and we see here is an attack sample with 3 loops in it, and it's just cut at the end, so there is no release here. The releases are in these folders instead, so we can have a look here, and we see here we have the release, and no cues are really needed. They are played from start to end, one shot. Okay, and you could compare just for how I usually does things instead. No, we don't have that. So here, you see that I have separate release folders and a tremulant sample folder. And in this folder I have actual tremulant samples and not only some waveforms to be used for synthesizing. And in if we examine for instance my samples, we can see that here I have loops and a release. This is the default release, or the long release actually, and then I have shorter releases from notes played staccato or just very short, like this. So you need to have another strategy when loading the pipes into a stop in GOODF, and you really need to know how the samples you are going to use, how they are intended to be used. Okay, so back to this Bukkebor. So we'll first say where we want to have the organ file, and we go into here and into here, and we place it here. So just testing. And these are not really important at the moment, so I just write something. Yeah, even many of these you don't need to fill anything in, but anyway. Next, create a Winchest group, and yeah, it is not that important really. So we might want to have a tremulant, because these samples have tremulant samples. So we say it's a wave, like so, and we add a manual. And there are actually more than 56 samples in this, but the original organ has 56 keys, so we just use it now. So the tremulant is added to the Winchest group and to the manual. Okay, now we create stops, and there were three versions of each stop here that I wanted to use. You see, and these are different mic placement, and I want to compare them. So I create 3 stops. And just call them principal 8, AB, and the last was rare, kind of. So now for the important part. When we load the pipes here, I specify the wind chest, I add the number of pipes I want to have, and we have the correct harmonic number. So I don't want to load the release in the attack, so I will uncheck that, and I don't want to try to read tremulant samples from the subfolder, because there are no real samples there, so I will empty this. So now I can create the MIDI pipes, and for that I browse into the folder I want to use, and we begin with this. So that's it. And as an addition, I want to have the tremulant samples, and I will add them separately because they are in another folder really. So I add tremulant samples from, and then we back out to the tremulant samples and go to here and open, like so. And now we have many more samples in this. So that is finished here. So it's just to do the same thing here. So you see it a few times now. The options you set will stay with the program until you change them. So there is no real problem with that. So into the pipes, principle 8 AB this time then, and tremulant samples separately from here, and AB this time. Okay, we're good with that. So now for the rear, last time wind chest 56 pipes, and I create them from rear like so, and add separate tremulant samples. From here. So that's that. If you would have separate releases, but you don't have the time for it, then you can untick this too and manually set the release time and copy it to all the other samples coming from the same directory if you need to, but in this case it's not necessary. So we create the basic panel. I change the background a little bit so it's lighter. Okay, like so. And we have three different versions, so I would like to have at least 3 rows done. Okay, and we add the necessary elements like so, and I'm not really concerned about anything else than the placement. So in row 1, in row 2, in row 3, and the tremulant I will put in column 2 instead. So it will look like this. And I forgot something here, yeah. So the AB should be in 2 and the rear should be in 3, like so. Okay, now I think we're good. So we write it out to save, and then we can open it in ground.org. It takes some time. Okay, and here we have the organ. So I'll just connect the keyboard and we can try. And we can try with the tremulant on. Okay, so I think that's enough for this screencast. So as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next screencast instead. Bye.